So how do you turn this to this? Because of the wind and it's kind of cold outside, let's go into the shop and we'll get started. How's it going, guys? Coming to you today from the garage because it's windy and cold outside, and we're going to be working on this dude right here. We've got several upgrades for the Rossi R92. We've got parts from primary arms. We've got parts from Skinner sights. We've got parts from Ranger Point Precision. And we're going to be building this dude out. So stick around, let's do a build, and let's have fun and make a really cool rifle. I had to lose my good workbench whenever I got the extra motorcycle. So I needed the room to store it indoors, so I lost my workbench. So today we will be working from a pretty crappy bench, but we'll make do. To start off with, what we're going to do is remove the butt plate and remove the stock. We're going to be removing the butt plate and the stock because I have plans on a way to refinish it, because for this build, I want the stock to be a darker color. And that's the stock removed. We'll set this to the side and work on it here in a little bit. The next step is we've got to drift out the rear sight, the front sight, remove the front barrel band, the rear barrel band, and the handguard. You're going to want to drift the rear sight and the front sight from the left-hand side of the rifle to the right. And I've already knocked this one loose, and that right there is the reason why you need to remove the rear sight, is the barrel is already drilled and tapped for a mount. Now we got to drift out the front sight. I don't have a brass punch that is the right size, so I found an old screwdriver, covered the tip with several layers of tape to keep it from scratching, and then I just put it in place and tap. And now the front sight has been removed, as well as the rear sight, onto the front and rear barrel band. On the barrel band, there is a screw, and each one, you just simply remove those. There's your screw. There's your rear one. Before we take the bands off, there's a screw underneath here. We're going to remove it and remove the tube spring and the follower. And there you go. And the follower sometimes will not come out, and you'll have to push from this end. But as you can see, the follower came out on my spring. Okay, we're gonna move these parts out of the way and then get to the barrel bands. Sometimes your barrel bands can come off without being hit, sometimes not. Just get a soft, like wood dowel or piece of PVC, something that won't mar the finish, won't bend up, that'll bend or break before this does. And then you just tap it down and it'll come off. There's your first barrel band. And see, like this one here, oh, there it is coming loose. Just kind of work it back and forth and it's off. Lastly, your tube and your handguard. we go. She is now disassembled. Okay, so this here is pretty much everything that's going to be going back onto the rifle. We've got the Ranger Point Precision Handguard, primary arms SLX RS10, a Skinner sight, QD attachment, M-lock attachment, and a sling. We'll be coming back later and doing a review on the primary arms red dot and on the Ranger Point Handguard. This is just kind of a, let's put it together, get it built, and see how I like it. I don't want to recommend this stuff by just installing it and saying, hey, it's good, go buy it. I actually want to get some use with them before I tell you to buy or not buy. So this is what's going to go back on the rifle, and then we will review these pieces at a later time. First off, we're going to be installing the Ranger Point Handguard. This is their M-lock handguard for the Rossi. It's a good looking rail, nice and lightweight. You've got M-lock all the way down the sides. You've got QD attachments in the front. And it feels quality. It really does. It feels like a quality piece. So with it, when you order the rail, you tell them which rifle you have and you get a mount for it. And these are the tools you get. So this is the reason why we had to take off the front side. You've got to be able to put this on here. Your rail slides on and attaches through here and screws down. So let's get started. Per the instructions, you're supposed to see how it fits up against your receiver as a test fit first. So I did a receiver test fit. Seems like it's going to be okay. Now, on to the next step. Your next step, you want to locate the longer screw and the mount. On the mount, you have a recessed hole, and that one's not recessed. The recessed hole will go on what would be the right-hand side of the rifle. So, looking at it like this, this is the left-hand side. The right-hand side is what has your loading gate. Slide it down to where you've got your barrel groove from your rear hand guard mount. And as you kind of feed it through, looks good, looks like it's going to fit good. I'm going to put a drop of Loctite on. There we go. Because this is aluminum, I'm trying to be very careful and make for sure I don't cross thread it. There. We're in now. And before you cinch it all the way down, you want to try to make it look as square as possible. Looking down the barrel through it to where your feed tube enters. You want to try to get those as square as possible. Okay, after you get this snugged down, it's still going to move a little bit. It's locked into place. Each one of these guns, the cross pin has been drilled slightly different, so they have to allow a little bit of wiggle room. Once you get it installed and you tighten it down with some medium force, you don't want to overdo it because, like I said, this is aluminum and you can strip it. Just be mindful of how tight you get it. Next, you're going to take your handguard and your mag tube and See that hole right there? That hole lets you know this is the end that goes to the front, toward the muzzle. This is going to slide through, and you're going to install this all on at once. See that? Mag tube goes in, handguard on. Okay. I'll pull that back out so you can see. Okay, so your tube, handguard. You kind of got to wiggle it, but it'll get in there. Let's see. There. Okay, next you want to locate your center hole on each side. You want to make for sure that your threads are lined up good. You can use Allen wrench and kind of put in there and kind of straighten it. You're gonna want to put a drop of Loctite onto the screw. If I can get it here. There we go. And my Allen wrench is here. Just barely tighten it. You don't want it, you just want it snugged. You don't want it tightened. Do the same thing over here. Make sure it's lined up. Drip of Loctite. You've got holes here and here, and you use these little blind pins to push against it to make it nice and square all the way across. You want the same amount of distance on each side of your barrel. Put a little bit of Loctite on. Use the little Allen key that's included. I'm just taking these down until they touch. I will put them in on each side before I actually tighten them down. Once you have the 4 locating pins installed, you'll want to look down and make for sure that you are as square as possible. And it looks pretty good where it's at. So I'm going to do a slight turn here and then come up front and tighten. Then come back here and tighten. Come up here and tighten. Do the same again. Okay. Look down it. That still looks pretty darn good. So, lastly, I'm going to snug these side ones down. Good. And oh, get it in there. Come on. Okay. So there we go. Now we're going to put the front barrel band on and the mag tube guts back together, and this part of the install will be done. On your mag tube, you'll see where you have a cutout. You've got a corresponding cutout on the barrel. You will have to line those up. Get your barrel band. Because these are so small, you do want to take your time and make for sure you're not cross-threading anything. If it feels wonky, back it out. It should get tight, but you don't want it to get too tight too soon. Because I mean, this isn't the biggest, strongest screws in the world. Looks good. Next, we'll install the mag guts. If you haven't done it yet, now is a good time to go ahead and throw a little bit of lube and to make for sure your follower's clean. And go ahead and put some lube on the paper towel. And just kind of run it down. Make sure you put follower in first, obviously. Okay. You can see how much of the spring is sticking out. So that's how much you've got to push in. Here's your end cap with the screw that holds it in place. So what you've got to do is feed your spring in. It's not real hard under pressure, but it is slightly under pressure. That is the install on the Ranger Point Precision Handguard for the Rossi. Next, we're going to install the Skinner sight rail. Here is the Skinner sight rail. I went with this one because this is the most low pro rail that they make for the R92. So let's see if we can get this dude opened up and see what we got. Okay, there it is. In between the wrapper is your Allen key. This is the rail. It's got 4 screws for it. I don't know if there's a front and a rear. It kind of looks like it. That's how it goes. That looks level. Yep. Okay. So next I'm going to hit these holes with a little bit of compressed air just to make for sure that they're cleaned out. Nothing's in there. Nothing will get in the way. I'll put a drop of Loctite in each hole and then we will mount the rail. Since my air compressor is noisy, I blew out the holes off camera. There was no reason to blow your eardrums out with that. So next, a drop of blue Loctite down each hole. Got that one started. Go to the other end. Get it started. There we go. Go back to this one. Okay, all of them are now started. I'm just snugging them down first. Not tight at all until I get all of them all the way down. So there you go. That is the Skinner Low Pro rail for the Rossi. And it looks pretty darn good. Let's go ahead and I'll install the front sight. I'm gonna do that off camera. Just gonna have to push it through, tap it. Like I said, it's not really needed because of the fact that I'm now gonna be running an optic. But I'm gonna put the front sight on and then we will come back and install the optic. Okay, front sight is reinstalled. Now it's time to put the primary arms micro red dot on the rail. I went with the SLX RS10 from Primary Arms. I wanted something small and lightweight. I spoke with Primary Arms and I asked them if this would be able to handle the recoil of a 44, and they assured me it would. They said one of their employees has this on his 3030 that he has set up very similar. So this is a little over 1 ounce. It has 11 brightness settings and about a 40,000 life on the hour, 40,000 hours on the battery life. You open it up, you get a manual, cloth, some Loctite. You get an adapter plate and screws if you were to put this on a pistol. You get all of your Allen keys and everything you need for it. And lastly, you get the sight. And as you can see, if it'll focus, come on, there we go. Nope. Anyway, SLX, Primary Arms. Kind of, I thought I had the red dot there for a second. Oh, there it is. Red dot is on my watch, or was, there it is. Okay, see it on my watch? There's your red dot. Okay, so since I don't know exactly which rail slot I want this in until I get my stock on and I look through the sight, I'm just gonna roughly put it in the middle of the rail. I'm not gonna Loctite it. I'm just going to install it there so I can see where I like it. I put it here. You see how much adjustment forward and backwards I can go. So if I need to, I could go all the way out here, back here. I'm just gonna start out right there, see what I like when I look through it once we put the buttstock back on. Okay, so it's on there temporarily to see if I like its position. And lastly, we've got the stock. You may be wondering, why did I pull off the butt plate and everything off of the stock? I wanted to try something. I like the dark look of the way that the gun is going. And this is okay, but I mean, their wood's not the prettiest. So I was gonna try, I can't remember what it's called. It's where you actually use a torch and you darken the wood, because I want it to be a little bit darker. But that has a specific term, and I can't remember what that term is. But you use a torch and you just kind of darken the wood, and then you buff it out, and it looks cool. So I'm gonna try it. I've never done it before, so let's see what happens. I've got my handy dandy torch here, and we're gonna darken the wood. Don't want to stay in one place too long is what I saw online. So now you kind of got the idea of it. I'm gonna break, do this, and I'll come back to you when it's done. So after you heat it up, turn it black, get some, I think this is 4/0 steel wool, and go over it. Be careful because the wood can still be hot if you don't wait long enough. Right there's one. So start buffing this out, and I'll come back in a second. After you've went over it with your steel wool, you can take something like an old sock, get it damp, and then wipe it down. You don't want it soaking wet, but just enough to make it wet. Okay. Let this dry. Quite a bit different looking wood now, ain't it? Looks pretty good. Let's see, try to get it to where there's not actual reflection on it. But that is a much better looking piece of wood, I think, than that Rossi red that was on there. Compare this to this. Pretty big difference. Now, you can, if it's not dark enough for you, you can go over it again if you like it. I happen to really like where it's at. I think it's gonna look really good on there. I'm gonna put a light coat of oil on it, kind of seal it with a very light coat of oil, and we'll put it on the gun. All right, so here we are with the final look of today's build. We've got the Rossi R92 with the Ranger Point Precision Elm Lock Handguard, a Skinner Sights rail, primary arms SLX RS10, coming down to my custom colored stock from using the torch. You come around to this side, you've got PowerTac weapon mounted light and a custom sling setup here. This didn't come on the Rossi. Normally I like this sling. This is a Zulu Tactical. Normally I like it. I'm a big fan of their stuff, but for this particular build it just doesn't work good for me. I'm probably going to change the sling out to a regular sling, and I will probably eventually change out this PowerTac light. The size of it, I think, is just a little too big for the actual size of the rifle. I think a smaller light would look better. And then also on this side, the pressure pad for this light is really big. There's no reason to have 4 buttons for this thing. And with how big it is, it's kind of in the way of the QD for the sling. All in all, I'm really happy with it. All in all, I really like the looks of that Ranger Point Precision Handguard with the primary arms red dot. See if you can see that red dot in there. Oh yeah, there you go. That looks good. The stock turned out awesome, I think. I really like how I darkened that up. I mean, it looks good. It looks way better than it shows on camera. So the only thing I've got left to do, take this guy out to the range. We're going to zero the optic. We're going to use the handguard, use the optic, get a good baseline to see if I like it, and then I'll come back and do a follow-up review on the handguard, on the red dot. Those will be separate reviews coming up. Thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. I'm also on Patreon. Throw a couple of bucks that way if you want. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.